is that the meaning of life? It's a bit too much. I didn't mean to go to that extent. Simon Miller did it. Quick, ring the newspapers. Headline: bald YouTuber nobody knows figures out meaning of life. Simon Miller, the bald asshole here. I did not intend to do this video. This is an out of nowhere thing. I did see the clip a couple of days ago whenever it went up, and then I suppose because if you don't know, my past is in video games. That's where my career started, in games, and now with whatever the hell I do now, I don't even know. And a bunch of people got in touch with me and they said, Simon, I really would like your opinion on Joe Rogan's rant, his own opinion, whatever you want to call it, about essentially fitness versus video games. I mean, that's being way too broad with it. If you don't know, I'll air the clip now. If the clip vanishes, it's because I got copyright claimed. I don't know if you can do that with something like a podcast, but I want you to see it. So essentially, again, I'll run it in one sec. What his point is that some kids are getting way too obsessed with video games, and there is no future in that for some individuals. He compares it to starting a martial arts school, I believe, maybe jiu-jitsu, where if you go to a jiu-jitsu class, you become a blue belt, a black belt, then maybe you can become a teacher, you can start teaching people martial arts yourself, and then you'll drive a Mercedes. That's an actual quote. Let's air it now.
And video games are a real problem. They're a real problem. You know why? Because they're fun.
Addictive.
And you don't, I have a real problem with them. And you do them, and they're real exciting, but you don't get anywhere.
Right.
It's like you could do like martial arts, right? You could learn jiu-jitsu.
Now, before we go anywhere, talking about Joe Rogan himself, he's a controversial dude, right? Much like anybody who gets that kind of fame. His podcast is huge. And I'll be honest with you, sometimes he says things I agree with them. Sometimes he says things that I couldn't agree with them any less. And I think he's a little bit crazy. I mean, that's just how the world works. I'm not going to focus this on Joe Rogan today because that will go on for ages. But here is my take in what he said. It's just too broad a thing to say. Now, to be fair, I don't know who his guest was on that show. He seems way more vitriolic against games than Joe Rogan does. They do talk about how you can make a lot of money if you become a professional gamer, and how that there's ways and means to actually make a living out of it. And Joe Rogan even compares that to the people that belittled him when he said that he was going to try and become a comedian. They were like, well, do you know how many people make it as a comedian? And he said, if you have that kind of narrow ideal of the world, then his words, not mine, you're probably a loser. Well, I think, you loser! And I think the thing for me is this. You can't be that broad on that generalization about games because you don't know why people are playing them. But more importantly, you don't know what they want to do with their life, right? Because everybody's different. Now, if you have a child and you think that they're wasting away in the house playing video games and they're not going to get a job and they haven't got a relationship and they don't seem to be progressing, then yes. But that would be the same as anything that seems to be taking over somebody's life, right? It's all about intent and it's all about context. So they can be a problem, but there's lots of things out there that can be a problem. Even if you're going out and say you want to be a football player, right? You're desperate to be a football player and you're now 27 years old and you're still trying to live this football dream. And quite clearly at 27 years old, you're not going to be a football player. Really, in the modern day, I'm talking about soccer. In the modern day, if you haven't been picked up by academy by like when you're 10, you're probably going to be too late for that world. Because if someone discovers you at 16 and somebody else got picked up at 10, that's 6 years somebody else has got within the system. And once you're in the system, you're obviously going to have huge benefits that you don't get otherwise. So you can become a professional gamer. And if you desperately want to become a professional gamer, then that's what you should do. Nobody should put chains on you or handcuff you, because you should go out there and live your dreams. You should bet on yourself, because there is a chance that maybe you do it, and then wahoo wahey, you're going to have a much better life than if you didn't. You never want regrets, right? Regrets are the worst thing in the world. But if you are taking that too far and it's becoming quite clear that it's not going to be what you want it to be, then you either need the wherewithal to accept it yourself, or maybe above that, you need somebody to kick your own ass to wake you up that you may have to find a different career path. What it comes down to ultimately, though, is, again, what do you want from life? Because there are some people that want a 9-to-5 job and then they just want to go on holidays every summer. They just want a wife and they just want kids. They just want a partner. They're not looking for anything else. If you want to say their ambitions are, I don't even say lower, if your ambitions are different to somebody else, then, that's all right. And going back to his own jiu-jitsu argument, maybe you don't want to drive a BMW. Maybe you just don't have the passion for jiu-jitsu. I think it's all about passion. Now, to me, fitness is a great thing for anybody to wrap up in their life. It's a great foundation, because not only will it teach you how to set small, realistic goals that you can then actually meet, but it will also make you feel good, right? So even if you are, down this quest to become a professional gamer, And again, the criticism that everybody always uses is, well, you just have to sit in the house for 8 to 10 hours a day. And yes, you would have to do that because it's practice makes perfect. And going back to the football thing, yeah, you're going to be outside. And that's just the way people see things. You know, if you're outside, excellent, you're smashing life. If you're trapped inside, you're wasting life. But there's a whole other side to this I don't think anybody's mentioned, and I'm sure that some people have. Video games, whether you want to believe it or not, will absolutely help with some people's mental health. And I know that because I've seen it. You know, whether you meet people online or, you know, you just lose yourself in another world, which is why entertainment can be so great. You know, it's the same as books or movies or music. Music, especially for me. I mean, you'll all know this. How much can music change your mood? You can feel terrible. You smash your favorite song on, or like when in the gym, for example, you know, the adrenaline starts pumping and you lift harder, you lift better. You know, that's what it can do. And some people do find that within video games. That was never my thing. I just thought they were fun. But I was always very... I can't think of the right word. I was very removed from video games. It's not the right word at all, but I didn't play them every single hour of every single day. I've always been a dude that's wanted to throw himself into 1,000 different things. So I play a video game for an hour, then I would go to the gym, then I'd play my guitar, then I'd make videos, I do all of this stuff because that's how my brain is. I mean, I'm clearly nuts. I probably have some kind of attention deficit disorder where I just need to do everything all of the time. But that's okay, you know, we all going to walk a different path. And I do think Joe Rogan was aware of that, but I don't think he broke it down enough. Because, I mean, we could do this all day, and maybe I'm sitting on the fence a little bit too much. It means the comments will say, oh, shut your boring answer, Simon. Why? And I'm like, yeah, you get a life. You're wasting your life in the comments as a joke. But, you know, it does all. If I knew someone that was playing games for 15 hours a day with no real path, I'd probably have a chat with them. But if I also knew that same person was trying to make it as a professional gamer, I'd be like, flipping A, man. Yeah, you go smash it. And also, if they had other things going on in their life, but they were still able to make up this amount of time because it was helping them on an emotional level, I'd be like, well, that's great too. I mean, moderation is key. And that's the same with fitness too. You don't want to go to the gym every day. You don't want to get to the point where you're stressing out over meals so much that it's no fun anymore. And I would say that's the same with jiu-jitsu. I'm just using Joe Rogan's thing. I've never done jiu-jitsu. I've done boxing, which I enjoyed. But maybe if you're doing jiu-jitsu too much and you're missing other parts of life, is that an issue? Again, it always is going to come down to the individual. I always get this quote wrong, and I should have looked it up beforehand. I didn't. John Lennon of the Beatles, he had it down best, which was something like, wasted time isn't wasted if you enjoyed yourself. And if we get proper hippie trippy and take a huge step back, is that the meaning of life? It's a bit too much. I didn't mean to go to that extent. Simon Miller did it. Quick, ring the newspapers. Headline: bald YouTuber nobody knows figures out meaning of life. But maybe it is. Maybe we don't need to reach for the stars, and maybe we don't need to lose ourselves in these things as long as every single second we're enjoying ourselves as much as possible. It's something to think about. It truly is, but I don't think there's anything wrong with going to the gym and then playing some games and then doing this and then doing that. And fitness to me is everything, right? But you could say the same thing. I know that you get a visual representation and it makes you feel really good, but games make you feel good too. But I know you get a visual representation as you go. But as we've talked about 1,000 times, does anybody then look at themselves in the mirror and go, oh yeah, I look great? No, they don't. They're like, well, that could be better and that looks kind of crappy and that's a pathetic quad. It's like, what a pathetic quad. And then you hit yourself in the face because you're just not happy. So you could ultimately say, is that overall beneficial? No, not massively, but we enjoy it. And I think games are to be enjoyed as well. And I'm not somebody that wants to sit around and play games constantly, but I'm certainly not going to crap over somebody else that is, especially not literally. That's illegal in some states, probably all states, probably illegal around the world. You shouldn't be pooing on other people. Saying that, some people enjoy it. We've done it again. We've entered weird territory. Again, you do you. I don't want to do that, like the games thing, but if you want to do it. So I kind of felt like they misspoke. They kind of talked about games like they were these, they're like a monster. They're sneaking up on children and like sinking their teeth in. You just need to make sure that of course games are fun and they are addictive, but there are lots of things like that as well. And if somebody got addicted to, I mean, it's not as bad as drugs, is it? Or anything like that. But the whole point is addiction is bad. And you need to be able to teach children, whoever is falling into this trap, well, here's what it does, and here's what you can do, and here are all the options, and then let them decide. And if then they get to the point where they can't help themselves, somebody should step in. That's the same with drugs, it's the same with alcohol, it's the same with food, it's the same with fitness. I would say at one point in my life, I was way too obsessed with fitness, and I probably needed someone to step in and go, Simon, he's causing you too much stress, and it was, but I didn't see it at the time. Luckily, eventually, I figured it out. But there's my opinions on the whole Joe Rogan stuff. Look, he shoots from the hip. He says what he thinks. You either like it or you don't like it. Clearly, lots of people do. How much did he just make for selling his podcast to Spotify, whatever the hell he sold it for? It's like $100 million. Look, maybe one day somebody will offer me $100 million for the things that I do. And if that does happen, I will, the first time in my life, I will go, Simon, you are a success. You have done it. Can't see it coming at the moment. But again, this ties into everything we've been talking about. You just never know. So find the things you're passionate about. Find the things that you want to make your life out of and go for them. But just make sure you're not going down too deep a darker path, because that ain't going to help anyone. There you go. You asked for it. I will talk about Joe Rogan. Moved a whole video today to do this because I thought I'd better jump on it. But of course, weekend content is coming. Sunday is dumb day, my favorite day of the week. Like the video, share the video, smash the subscribe button, hit the bell button. Come buy some merch, simonmiller.bigcartel.com. Go to Patreon, patreon.com/Simon316. I'm on social media, of course. All the information is in that description box down there. Go and click away and watch more videos. They should be on the screen here too, and we can just go on this YouTube journey together. I'll see you soon.